All right. Hello again, Avengers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is daily vlog number 216, I believe it is. So, today, guess what? I have light. That's good. Very long story short, we apparently had... The term for it is a loose neutral. It's apparently not very complicated, but more complicated than I want to get into because I'm not an electrician. Suffice it to say, it was a relatively quick fix. And we have lights and everything, and it's very nice, but that is not what I want to talk about today. Today, I want to talk about dirty, disgusting cheaters. It's on Reddit, as I am often. By the way, if you would like to see just a cesspool of humanity, Reddit is a great place. But every so often, there are some decent, wonderful people on there. And one of the Reddits that I frequent, just because I'm a masochist or a sadist, I'm not sure which, is r/D&D, which is basically a forum for people to complain about D&D, which always blows my mind. It's not quite as bad as r/D&D Next, where they really hate D&D, but whatever. Somebody made a post on there talking about, specifically they were talking about hit points on a few of the characters. They were the DM, and they noticed that two of the either 4 or 5 players that they had really high hit points. And so effectively what the reason they figured it out was one of the players refuses to roll their hit points. They just take the average, which is a completely legitimate way to play. Like, it's in the official rules, so it's perfectly fine. And they noticed that, and they were a paladin, but they also had another paladin and a ranger that had 10 more hit points than the paladin, but both of them had lower constitution scores. And so they actually went through and tried to figure out what the statistical likelihood of them rolling, because apparently to get these hit points, they would have had to roll max or near max on basically every one of their hit point rolls. And they're level 5, by the way. So both paladins and rangers both use d10s for their hit dice. So both of them would have had to roll like 4 or 3... would have had to roll like 3 10s and a 9 in order to have that hit points. And so he was asking Reddit, how do I kind of confront these people about the fact that I think effectively they're cheating on their hit point rolls, without it becoming an international incident and blowing up my game. And a lot of people, and this is very common to happen on r/D&D and just Reddit in general, a lot of people are like, they're cheaters, kill them, murder their characters, make them accidentally eat a meal that requires them to reroll all their hit points, and then make them do it in front of you. Just kill them. Just over and over all this stuff. And so I decided that I would make a reply to it. And my reply in a nutshell was, it's 10 hit points. At level 5, that is a single attack. So these two players can get hit one extra time before they drop. What you're doing here is kind of nuts. You have gone through and you've discovered the statistical probability of them rolling one particular outcome. Which, by the way, somebody else pointed out later, they said, well, there's only a 0.04% chance of them rolling this well. And somebody else pointed out, actually, that's just how rolling dice works. There's actually only a 0.04% chance of rolling 4d10s and getting any outcome. Rolling a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4 would also have a 0.04% chance. Basically, anytime you choose all 4 rolls, that's how it works. Just because this particular probability favored them doesn't mean that it's this strange, impossible thing. If you want to be technically more accurate, what you do is you add the numbers up, because technically checking each individual roll is, you're always going to have a 1 in 10 chance of rolling any particular number on a d10. But anyway, so yeah, I wanted to talk about the idea of just cheating in general in tabletop RPGs. And one of the things I said in my post is, actually, this is something that I believe I've said this before every one of the big campaigns that I've run, and I say it sometimes before a lot of the one-shots I've run. So anyone that's actually played with me, you may or may not have heard this before. But this is the little speech I give before I start running anyone. Because a lot of times, one of the questions they will ask is like, well, how do we roll our dice? I go, how do you want to roll your dice? Well, I guess, like, are we using Roll20? Do I need to roll in Roll20? I go, you know what? To be perfectly honest, I'm not a big fan of digital dice rollers. They always do poorly for me. But if you want to, you're more than welcome to. Well, what else can I do? Well, you can roll physical dice. Well, then how will you know? Do I have to have a camera on the dice? I'm like, no. Well, then how will you know what I roll? You'll tell me. Well, how do you know I'm not cheating? Okay. If you decide that you want to cheat, first of all, you won't need to tell me. I've been doing this for years. I have literally thousands of hours of experience. I'll know. Almost everybody else will know too. It's blatantly obvious when someone cheats at a role-playing game. So it's not that you're somehow going to pull a fast one over me or over anyone else. It's really obvious. But the bigger thing is, this is a game in an imaginary world where everything that happens is stuff that we make up. And there's no prize at the end for the winner. So if you feel the need to cheat, there's a bigger conversation that you need to have with someone. Possibly me, more likely than not someone that has the experience and training to deal with that. There's no benefit to cheating at a tabletop role-playing game. You don't win D&D. You tell an interesting story. My job as the dungeon master, the game master, is to ensure that the story makes its way to its end, and that end feels final and satisfying. Like that's my whole job. And your job is to do as much as you can in your role as a single character to make the story interesting. So success can be interesting. Failure can be interesting. And a lot of times, failure is actually more interesting than success. So if you decide that you feel the need to cheat, there's really no point to playing the game. If you're not willing to accept that the outcome will not always work out the way that you want to, fudge every dice that you want. You're not always going to get the result that you want. Even if you roll a natural 20 every single time, the fact that I, as the game master, exist means every so often I'm going to throw you a curveball. That's how it works. So yeah, I'm not going to police your dice rolls. If it does get to the point where it's become fairly obvious to me and everyone else that you're cheating, it's going to be a very quick conversation of, okay, your rolls look weird. Are you actually rolling the dice, or are you just kind of deciding the things that you want to do? And then we have a conversation of, hey, we're trying to tell a story here. We all agreed to use these rules. If you want to continue telling the story, I'm perfectly fine with that. If you don't, perfectly fine with that as well. But this isn't telling the story that anybody wants. And again, there's no cash prize at the end for winning. So, what do you want to do? Like, that's all it is. It's not I have to prove that you're cheating or anything like that. You don't have to turn it into an inquisition or anything thing like that. The people, and this is one of the things I mentioned to them. Did you notice that these players, that they have 10 extra hit points? Did you notice that they never seem to miss? Do you notice that they never fail saving throws when it really matters? Do they always seem to roll really high on all of their checks? No? Then explain this to me. Why have they decided to cheat on something that will have the least impact on the game just in general? Like, your hit points are not that important in D&D 5th edition. They really aren't. Because there's lots of ways that you can get more hit points. Healing magic, potions, begging the DM to not hit me so hard. Lots of different ways. And again, 10 hit points is a single attack. There are significantly better ways to cheat at D&D 5th edition. So if they have decided that they are only going to cheat once every few sessions, every few months, I don't know how quickly you guys level up. That doesn't make sense. If someone's going to cheat, they're going to cheat. That's how it works. So why are you doing this? You were turning this, like, you've done math. You have done actual math to figure out whether or not they're cheating. You don't need to. Just say, hey, your hit points look really high. How are you guys getting that? More likely than not, either A, they did roll that well, because a 0.04% chance of something happening is not that low a chance. Like, in D&D, I have seen a lot more the things that shouldn't be able to happen that have. I've watched people roll 4 nat 1s in a row with advantage. Like, it's not that crazy. The other thing is they just don't understand how to roll for hit points. And so either they're cheating at one of the most pointless places in the game to cheat, and only there, or someone made a mistake. And you can fix it. And that's all you have to do. It doesn't have to be this, well, I have proof of you cheating. Everybody knows when someone in a Giga game is cheating. It's like, after you've been playing D&D for more than, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 sessions, you start to get a feeling for how people roll and what the statistical outcome of most things are supposed to be. And if someone is just always winning, like, everybody at the table knows something's up with their dice. Their die is loaded. They're not doing stuff. And if you play in person, it's unbelievably easy to see that someone's cheating. If you play online, again, there's a billion different ways to do it. Most of which being, you just know. It's really hard to cheat into the D&D. And on that note, and this is I keep saying D&D, but this is for tabletop RPGs in general. If someone feels the need to cheat, then you have a bigger problem than them fudging dice rolls. They obviously don't understand what it is that everyone is doing. And it could be a lot of different things. It could be that you have created an environment where the players feel like it's the DM versus the players. And that does create a winners and losers feeling. You know, if the DM does something and upsets the players, or the DM wins. But if the players do something that upsets the DM, well, then the players win. And that's a DMing style. It's a really, really common thing for new DMs to do. And unless your players are okay with that kind of DMing style, it's not one I would ever recommend. So yeah, it might be that you are encouraging an environment where they feel the need to win. And that's something that you have to figure out on your own. The other one is they have an intrinsic feeling that they always have to be the best, and the fact that they're cheating is probably not the only problem that you have. They may be scene stealing often. That whole kind of main character syndrome thing. They may have created a character specifically that has no flaws. They may be min-maxing and all these other things. Again, none of those things, except for the scene stealing and stuff like that, none of those things in and of themselves are absolutely horrible. But the cheating is a symptom of something bigger that needs to be discussed. And it may have nothing to do with the game or the players. This may be something that has to do with them as a person. Something that a lot of people are not really comfortable talking about is the idea that abusers in general, and I'm not saying that a cheater is an abuser, but there's a common motivation that can lead people to be abusive, but could also lead people to cheat in places that they don't need to cheat. Most abusers are abuse victims. That's why they call it the cycle of abuse. And a lot of times it comes from a feeling of a lack of control. You see this a lot with younger kids, but you can see it in adults as well. When people feel like they're losing control, or they don't have control over their own life, or something's going on and they feel powerless, they will find other places where they can feel powerful. That's where a lot of like Karen behavior comes from. They come from people who feel powerless in whatever they do. And so they need to go somewhere where they can feel powerful. And going into retail stores and asking for a manager makes them feel powerful. It makes them feel like they're in control. And so that feeling of powerlessness can manifest as I have to win everything. And if that is motivating your cheater to cheat, there's not a whole lot that you as a dungeon master or really anyone in the group is going to be able to do for that. That is something that requires professional help. And it's not something that's easy to deal with. Because this is another thing that a lot of people don't realize, is a lot of people that have these kind of antisocial tendencies don't realize that what they're doing is wrong for a number of different reasons. One, it becomes normalized wherever it is that they are getting abused. It becomes normalized in their brain that this is just how the world works. It's extremely common. It's actually I know someone that their master's thesis for their psychology, their master's in psychology, was they did a study, and they weren't able to prove causation because causation is unbelievably difficult to actually prove in science. Doesn't stop people from thinking they can prove causation with just like a really quick survey. But no, it actually requires a lot of work and effort. But they were able to show a correlation between kids growing up and witnessing abusive relationships, as in their parents had some kind of abusive or negative relationship, and them being involved in abusive relationships when they grow up. The basic idea of kind of monkey see, monkey do. Kids are little sponges when they're young. And it's very, very common for them to just assume this is how the world works based on the interactions that they have with their family. Here's a fun one for you. I was eating over at a friend's house. I think I've told this story before, but I find it hilarious. I'm telling it again. I was eating over at a friend's house. And as we're sitting down for dinner, I started looking around. My friend's like, what's going on? I said, well, when do you guys do your fire drills? And everybody in the family just looked at me like I had asked them where their spaceship was. He's, what? I said, well, when do you guys do your fire drills? We don't. Well, how do you guys know what to do when a fire happens? we get out of the house. Yeah, but don't you, like, and they all go, do you have fire drills? I go, yeah, we have them like 2 or 3 times a week right before dinner. The fire alarm goes off, and then we go outside for the fire drill, just like it happens at school. And it was at that moment I realized, oh, we weren't having fire drills. My mother, bless her soul and heart, she's still alive, by the way. Mom, if you're watching this, I apologize. My mother was not a good cook. When she met my father, who was a professional chef, my mother couldn't boil water. She got much better, guys. She cooks fine now. When I was very young, my mom would burn dinner almost every night. They would set off the fire alarm. And fire alarms are loud, and there's smoke in the house. And so instead of panicking the kids or freaking out or getting mad or anything, my mom would go, oh, it's fire drill time. Come on, kids, let's go. We had a tree outside in our front yard. We were one of the few families on the street that had a tree. And so we'd run out to the tree, and we'd stand there, and then Mom would get the fire alarm to stop, and then we would eat our charred food. And it just hit me then, oh, that's not normal. But again, as kids, we just normalize everything. And so to get this back to the idea of cheating, there's a very good possibility that if the reason that the person is cheating is because they feel a lack of control in their life, and therefore they're just trying to find a way where they feel in control, where they feel powerful, and they're doing it in this particular way, they may or may not realize that's what's going on. They may have never made that connection before, because in their mind it's normal. And that's not something that's going to be fixed with, a sit-down conversation with your DM. So, yeah. Cheating is not as big a deal as people make it out to be, especially online or Reddit. Like, everyone's, oh man, there's all these issues. It's a relatively rare thing. Again, I used to run with complete strangers all the time. Do you know how many times I even suspected someone was cheating? I think maybe twice. In the thousands of hours I have of running D&D games, both in person and online, maybe twice have I encountered someone where I'm like, eh. And I never had to address it, because it was as simple as, wow, you're rolling really well. And that was it. People were still having fun. It didn't break the game. So I just moved along. So yeah, if you do feel that there is a cheetah in your game, it's really not that big a deal. You don't have to prove that they're cheating, because, it's as simple as, hey, you're rolling a lot. And the rolls always seem to be in your favor, and it just doesn't make sense. What's going on? And if they lie to you, again, there's bigger problems. And just starting with, remember, this is a game. There's nothing at stake here. There's no reason. When bad things happen to your character, it's so that better things can happen later. There's no benefit to cheating. So, what's going on? And if they lie to you, there's a bigger problem there than cheating. That probably needs to be dealt with by someone that has the training and skills to deal with something like that. So yeah, my advice, if you suspect someone is quote unquote cheating at your table, talk to them. I generally don't recommend doing it in front of everybody. This is a tip from management in general. You always praise people publicly, and you always correct them privately. You never, ever, ever, ever call out someone in front of their peers to say something that they've done wrong. Unless it is a specific situation where you are providing feedback. That other people are like, everyone is kind of agreed okay, this person is going to tell me what I'm doing wrong so we can all get better. That is the only time you ever correct someone publicly. Every other time you always correct them privately. Because in general, what happens if you call out someone in front of their peers, they will do whatever they can to save the relationship that they have with their peers. And turning it back on you is generally the easiest way to do that. But yeah, so if you think you have someone cheating at your table, take him aside after the game or something. Go, hey, do you have a couple minutes to talk? Yeah, sure. Hey, you're rolling really, really high, and you never seem to fail your save. What's going on? Oh, I guess I'm just really, really lucky. Possibly. I just want you to know, there's no reason that you need to always succeed. We're going to have fun if all of your rolls are high. We're going to have fun if all of your rolls are low. Nobody wins at D&D. You don't win D&D. It's just us getting together to tell stories. So don't worry if you fail at something. That makes the story even more amazing. No, I'm not really cheating. Okay, I wanted to bring it up. It was something that was catching my eye. And then go on with your life. If it becomes a bigger problem, again, you don't need proof. Everyone will be aware of it. So at the end of the day, it goes, hey, I know you can't roll like that. Like, math says that can't be happening. So this is what we're going to do. I like you. I like having you part of the group. But being a part of this group is we all agreed to play by these rules, and you're not playing by the rules. So either you need to play by the rules, or you maybe need to find a different game. But again, there's nothing wrong. Like, it's not a personal thing, and maybe if you're having some issues, maybe talk to someone about this. It's entirely up to you. Like I said, the likelihood of that happening is so infinitesimally low. And again, there's not that much benefit to cheating at a tabletop RPG. Again, even if you always roll every single time a nat 20, GM can still put your characters in difficult situations whether you succeed or not. Ferris Bueller got nothing but nat 20s, and yet there were still situations where bad things happened to him. He was just always able to get out of it. So, again, the idea that cheating in an RPG is somehow going to destroy the game, it can feel... it can be upsetting, especially for the other players. If they're playing by the rules and somebody isn't, it can become upsetting, but it's not going to blow up. No one's going to go to jail. It's not that big a deal, and it's not that common. Learning how to cheat is actually more difficult than just playing the game. So, anyway, like I said, I saw this thing and I saw this person just fixating on hit point totals. One of the most useless parts of any tabletop RPG. There's better things to spend your life dealing with. I'm interested to hear what are your guys' opinion on cheating in general? Are you kind of you fudge die rolls, you're off of my table, you're a horrible, disgusting person, or are you kind of like me? It's like, I really don't care. There's no reason. If we villainize it and we turn it into this horrible, disgusting thing, we're actually encouraging people to do it. Just go, no, we don't cheat. That's how it works. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Otherwise, again, this is all for me today. I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.